issue 73 of Thunderbolts, featuring Man-Eater from an abysmal issue of Spider-Man team-up in the 70s. I will be talking about her quite a bit in this video, and how this series effectively took one of the most embarrassing characters in comics history and made her worthwhile. I really like this issue. It is a great issue. I recommend you all read it right now. I am gunning to try and keep it positive and not groan about how they violently killed Man-Eater off 7 years ago, or any of my other gripes about what Marvel did with Thunderbolts and its characters. This is written by longtime Thunderbolts writer Fabian Nicieza, and we have our 7-person team roster on the top. It's not worth ganning over them because I am only ganning to be talking about 2 of them in this. Man-Eater, who was actually rechristened Amazon, which is a much better name. And the other I will talk about is the one whose character arc is done in this issue. You didn't really have to know who the others are. And chances are, you already know who Hawkeye is anyway. This issue has the Thunderbolts team up with V-Man to try and stop a void from expanding. I do feel the need to explain this version of the team. It isn't a lineup many people who haven't read the series are familiar with. Song Girl and Hawkeye, they tried to forge a new squad with these guys. And while their efforts weren't entirely successful, all but one of them did have some epiphany or realization about the possibility of redemption. I always wanted to see more of this team. We didn't get to see them in action enough. Someone else who they are teaming up with is Sybil Savile, and this leads us to talking about Cycle Clone, one of these Thunderbolts. Cycle Clone is the character who gets his resolution here. He has been a whiny jackass for about 10 issues now, and he has exhibited zero desire to better himself or do anything remotely good. After proposing running off to Ecuador on the previous pages, here he refuses to help the team investigate this growing void unless there is something in it for him. We will get back to this, but let's talk quickly about the history of Cycle Clone. Cycle Clone was a Spider-Man bad guy who made his first showing in Amazing Spider-Man 143. And I suspect this will be a very short history lesson because I own this story, so no point talking about it here. I will probably review it one day. Cycle Clone is a French dude with a suit that allows him to create whirlwinds and things like that. He is definitely French, not Italian, definitely French. I even have his second appearance too, where he guns up against Spider-Man and Moon Man. His third appearance too, where he dies at the hands of Scourge. As with most the Scourge deaths, it was a waste of a character, and eventually Kurt Busiek had Cycle Clone reintroduced as a member of the Masters of Evil in Thunderbolts. When we get to Fabian Nicieza's run, when recruiting the new team, which is made up of ex-members of that previous Masters of Evil, Cycle Clone is the only one who is reluctant to switch sides, and he has no interest in joining, but through intimidation, threats, and blackmail, he is eventually convinced to go along with them. His time with the team has been him ogling the women, or trying to find the first chance to get away, or betray them. By this issue, Hawkeye has given Cycle Clone more than enough chances. And so now this team is at a point where they are making a decision to do something, because it is what heroes would do. Heroes would go and do something about this expanding void that threatens to engulf the world. But Cycle Clone, he is the only one who is holding out. He doesn't care, and he doesn't want to do it for nothing. Sybil Savile offers to employ him and write a paycheck for his services. And that is when Hawkeye cuts in and says that isn't good enough. It doesn't work that way. Being a hero for money isn't how it's done. And he tells the team that this is the moment where they can either do something good with their lives, or they can be what they have always been. Any of them not wanting to help are free to leave. So Cycle Clone wastes no time in leaving immediately. But his departure is stopped, and he is instantly arrested by SHIELD, because by saying no to the Thunderbolts, Cycle Clone is right back where he started. He is naught but a wanted criminal, and there is still a warrant out for his arrest. Cycle Clone, his story is over now. He wasn't worthy of the faith that Hawkeye ever placed in him. He was a washout. The rest of the team, however, they have each shown individual moments of heroism or altruism, and none of them try to leave when given the chance. They each have some compulsion or desire to see this through and where it takes them. So what is happening is there is an aperture that has torn open on V-Man's battleship, and it's slowly getting bigger and bigger, and time is of the essence. Most of V-Man's associates have already been swallowed up by it, and what is causing this abyss is actually a Japanese physics genius called Anomaly, who was transformed into an energy being when investigating radiation or something like that. He is what is directly causing this, but this issue keeps it a mystery. We don't know what is causing this void, or why it is happening within this issue itself. This issue is brilliant. I'll repeat that again. This issue is brilliant. A lot of fantastic writing, and across this set of pages, there's quite a lot going on. The team split up into smaller squads to approach the expanding all from different directions, which is a fantastic bit of strategy. And one thing that happens is that Harriet, one of the members of the Thunderbolts, He flies into it by mistake. And so Hawkeye, ever the hero, he goes in after his teammate, a teammate who, by the by, has a grudge against Hawkeye. But Hawkeye is willing to enter this mysterious force without hesitation to save Harriet. And this is where we come to our first use of Man-Eater, who I should be calling Amazon because I prefer her as Amazon. Hawkeye hands her an arrow with a rope on and tells her to keep it anchored. He is holding the other end of it. And obviously what we show here is one of Amazon's main characteristics being cleverly used to show that she could be a force for good. She is super strong and she will not give up. And so Hawkeye and Harriet, they are both pulled back through to safety. Most of this team who are not Cycle Clone do receive moments like this where they are validated or shown to be capable of redemption or that they are worthy of redeeming. So let's talk about Amazon and or Man-Eater and how not only does this story show her redeeming herself, but Thunderbolts actually redeemed the creation of a dreadful character. I have talked about this first appearance before, and I don't mean to repeat these little crash courses, but I think the last time I talked about this issue, it was only to criticise and mock it. Man-Eater was created by Gary Conman in Spider-Man Team Up 8, and she is a confused man's reaction to the threat of feminism. Gary Conman is clearly terrified by feminism, and he is thinking along the lines of, first they burnt the bras, next they're gonna burn down Town Hall a bit. Legitimately, I think this is one of the worst characters ever put to paper. The bad guy from Spider-Man Team Up 8. She is utterly terrible. And I am amazed Scourge never pulled the trigger on her. She deserved it. Justice would be served. She made a few other appearances. I don't know why anyone would want to bring her back, but they did. She was one of the Hydra leaders in that Daredevil story, which is why I am covering this issue today. Tenuous, I know. She also appeared in some Iron Mans as one of a big squad of supervillains. Neither of these comics really made reference to how extreme her misandry was, or how stupid and insane she was shown to be. She was just fodder for a hero to fight. She also appeared in a pin-up in Spider-Man's Web Annual 3 as one of Spider-Man's forgotten foes. That about sums her up. Best forgotten. Exactly like Cycle Clone, Man-Eater was on the Masters of Evil in Kurt Busey's Thunderbolts. It wasn't until Fabian Nicieza's run that she started to shine. Before joining the team, she had been a presence throughout. She was like a secondary character. We had this subplot where she was hiding out as a bartender. An Atlas man recognised her, but then he started frequenting the bar and confiding in her. At times it seemed like he was nearly inspiring her to put on her costume and help the Thunderbolts. But ultimately, she scoffed at the idea, and she cut and ran when presented with the greatest opportunity to turn her life around. Something that Fabian Nicieza made a theme with her. She finds it easier to bail when things get tough, or she has to make a decision for herself, rather than ever committing to something. Oh yeah, another thing Fabian Nicieza did was confirm she was a lesbian. He tried to recontextualise some of her first appearance to now include homophobia as well as sexism as to what was motivating her. Spider-Man Team Up 8 is still not any good, but he tried. Apparently some people have criticised her for being a lesbian stereotype. I think it is great that there is a lesbian character who actually has faults and flaws, and is now a rich character with nuance, instead of a poster pretty version of perfect acceptable lesbianism. Yeah, she is butch, but so what? She's also in New Thunderbolts for a short time, where she gets a power-up, she can grow giant, and I thought that was a good idea. And I've not even talked about her being a mirror for Atlas Man. She is Atlas Man at his worst. The grunt who takes orders and won't make decisions for himself. There's quite a lot to talk about with Amazon. Fabian Nicieza did what might be one of the greatest tricks a comic writer has ever pulled. He took one of the all-time worst creations ever and made her a great, fully rounded character. I love Thunderbolts, and there have been great characters in Thunderbolts, and Amazon would be in my top 20. I would assume at number 16. She seems like a number 16. Actually, let's quickly think that. Number 1 spot is Moonstump. Second is Baron Zero. Third is Atlas Man. Fourth, Casper. Spot 5 is Mark, real name Abe, short for Abner. 6 is... oh, Swordman. Definitely Swordman. 7, Juggernaut. Let's think who else. 8, Captain Cold. 9, Speed McGee. 10, Radiation Dude. 11, Song Girl. Not even making the top 10. 12 would be... who would 12 be? I'm not counting Hawkeye. 12 might be Amazon. Quite a high showing for her. Although maybe Derek Sullivan, Ant-Man, and some of the other guys from that team, maybe they could come before. V-Man and Sybil Saville, they get swallowed up by the big hole. And now we have our terrific finale, our climax where the Thunderbolts are on the verge of falling into this expanse. And it boils down to some of the most satisfying and logical use of teamwork ever. It is only hurt a tiny bit from being in essence a remake of what we only just saw. The team are ganning into the void, but Amazon is staying behind to again act as anchor by holding on to an energy rope, the power of one of the other members. And we have this great little back and forth between her and Song Girl, where Amazon points out that she could just run, and Song Girl says, yes, she could. Something just flickered in my mind there. I wanted to compare how much better that single panel was next to anything Kurt Busey did on the series, but this is meant to be a positive video. So this is Amazon's big validation scene. She is literally the anchor for the team, and without her they would all be lost forever. And she comes through and proves her worth. She gets to be the hero, and I highly recommend this. Much preferred talking about this than a random Daredevil comic that I don't have all that much to say about. Now, if only I could find my copy of New Thunderbolts #1. This issue does a lot. Some other comics would be content to just have that one big scene at the end, or to focus solely on Amazon. But we weave in Cycle Clone and his departure from the team. We have an important bit for Harriet with Hawkeye saving him. We have the teamwork at the end. This is excellent comicking, and I think it needs 7 thumbs up for that.